All right, we're going to go over the binding process for the receivers with the single antenna. You'll need your remote control, you want the battery charged, you'll need a charged 3-cell battery, and your vehicle. So we can turn on the remote control, press and hold the power button. And then in order to put this into bind mode, we want to press these inner two on the D-pads until the light starts to cycle and flash. This is now in bind mode. And on the receiver, you will have a little switch right here. Sometimes it's hard to press and hold this switch while you plug in the battery. You can get somebody else to help you along with it, or you can kind of hold it like this. Now we want to press and hold the button down while we plug in the battery, and then release the button when the battery's plugged in. And we should get a solid green light and a flashing orange light. And then your vehicle should be bound. And then we can press and hold both of those buttons in here again to exit bind mode. So we are now out of bind mode. We'll unplug. I can show you. Plug the battery back in. And we are now bound. All right, this will be setting up Betaflight. So after you have your receiver and radio bound, you will want to connect to the Betaflight software. So you'll start with this page. When you plug it into your vehicle, it should auto connect, pop up, and you get at the setup page here. On the setup page, it shows you a physical representation of your vehicle. So you should be able to, if you tip forwards, so nose down, it should go nose down, nose up, left, right, roll, yaw. So those should match the directions for your vehicle. If not, you'll want to double check to make sure that you have your flight controller mounted in the correct orientation. While you're on this page, if you set your vehicle on a flat level surface, you can click Calibrate Accelerometer. Don't bump the surface, and then it will calibrate the accelerometer, setting your flattened level for your vehicle. At this point, you can turn your remote on, and then we want to select the ports in the left-hand side here. And under ports, we want the UART3 to have the serial RX set. And that will allow the receiver to communicate with the flight controller on that channel. If this is selected, you can click Save and Reboot. It'll reboot and reconnect. And then we can move on to configuration. So if we click the configuration button, in here you can type in your vehicle name or pilot name if you want to, but we will want to scroll down and make sure we have servo tilt selected. If servo tilt is not selected, you want to select it, click Save and Reboot. From here we can click on Receiver. So on the receiver, we want to make sure we are using serial via UART and that we have S-Bus selected. With those two selected, we can keep the telemetries on, leave the RSSI fine. Channel map, we want it to be the throttle, aileron, elevator, rudder, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we can click Save. And we should see now, if we press the right stick forwards, we get our pitch, back, so pitch down, pitch up, roll left, roll right. So all of these stick movements should match the graphic here of the vehicle. And then throttle up, throttle down, yaw left, yaw right, auxiliary 1, auxiliary 2, auxiliary 3, and auxiliary 4. So auxiliary 1 is the switch in the left-hand face 3-position switch. It's on the face of the remote. And then auxiliary 3 is the 2-position switch on the top left side of the remote. With that, we can click Save. After that, we want to click on where it says Modes. Now, with the modes, we want to make sure that we have our arm. We can select arm. Right now, we have it set for auxiliary 3. That's our 2-position switch, and we want the bar graph part here to go from 1800 to 2100. And what that does is when the switch is in the up position, it is low here, and then we flip the switch towards ourselves, it goes into the arm position. Now it won't let us arm because we're connected to the computer, but outside of that, it would be armed when the position is up and disarmed when it is down. And then for the second section here, for the angle, we want this to be on auxiliary 1, and we want this to be the whole range from 900 to 2100. If you have a separate mode like horizon mode selected, you'll want to delete that mode. All you want is your arming and disarming, and then angle set to the full range. We'll click save, and then we can move on to servos. So we click the servo tab. In here, we want servo number 1 to be selected for A4. That will be our upper right-hand switch. It's a 2-position switch, so you could use that for like the claw open and close. If you wanted it for the upper right or the right-hand 3-position switch, you'd select A2. So if I select A2 and click save, we can change it. Click back on servos. So we can see that now servo 1 is set to the 3-position switch. I'll put it back on mine because my claw is going to be an open and closed. You can also, under servos, change the minimum, mid, and max value. So if you don't need the servo to open and close the whole way, you can just adjust those numbers to match the physical range that you need for your servo. So we will now click on motors, and under motors, we want to make sure we are selected quad X. We want to make sure the motor direction is reversed. So we should have the propeller spinning outwards on the front and outwards on the back. The motor orientation should be 1, 2, 3, and 4. We should have D-shot 600 selected, and bidirectional D-shot should be selected as well. With that selected, you can click save and reboot, and it will reboot into the, and that should be everything you need to get your vehicle set up for Betaflight.